Ghostpaw.
My name is Jason, and I have a twin sister named Sam. Sam is a really sweet and caring person. She never got into trouble, and she always did her chores. Sam never made a fuss about doing the dishes or washing the cat. She kept her room neat and tidy, and even as a child, she never pouted or threw tantrums. She always had her nose in a book. I swear, she was like a sponge, and everything that she read she absorbed with no problem. I, on the other hand, I was out of control and made a mess every chance I got. We seemed to be polar opposites, and yet, despite all that, we are still to this day the best of friends. I love my sister with all my heart, and that is why this is so hard for me to talk about. You see, Sam has had a pretty rough childhood. She was extremely shy and she never wanted to talk to anyone. Well, no one other than me. And still to this day I'm baffled by how unsociable and awkward Sam was with people. What's interesting is that she had a lot of people interested in trying to be friends with her, but she always kept quiet. The only time Sam would go anywhere is if I went first. She always trailed behind me. It was like this all the way up until our high school year. Our freshman year was very awkward. I started hanging out with a not-so-nice crowd, and we would spend most of our time vandalizing whatever we could get our hands on. We had been dubbed punks by the social hierarchy that was the senior class. Every day was essentially the same. I'd spike up my neon purple hair, put on my denim and leather jacket, baggy cargo pants, and combat boots. I was especially fond of my jacket because I had a multitude of patches that signified my favorite bands and had other various symbols. My sister, on the other hand, would dress in modest clothing, mostly pink with a splash of white. Her hair was neat and tidy, and she didn't wear any jewelry. I'm not so sure why, but it still bugged me that Sam was still Mommy's little girl. Sam would continue to wear whatever it was that Mother had laid out for her. Opposites we were indeed. Now, if you can imagine how much she stuck out from the rest of us when we were hanging out together. A mob of troubled youth, dressed in garbs of black and silver, draped head to toe in chains and leather, and one pink-clad young woman. More often times than not, we would often get hassled by other people. They would claim that we were in the wrong for trying to convert such a righteous child. It got to the point that even I began to question my own motif. My conscience ate at me, little by little, knowing that my little sister was witnessing commit some sort of sin against the world. Even still, I find myself judging every action that I have ever taken, tallying each little crime, wondering if that was the moment our life had went to hell. However, I do indeed know the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. About halfway through our sophomore year, our group adopted a new member. His name was Eric, and it was from this point on that my life would never be the same again. You see, Eric was, in our eyes at the time, a bona fide badass. He was the real deal, and by that I mean he was a genuine renegade. He stole from whomever he saw fit, without regret, and had a creed of disrespect was met with repercussions. Too many times had I seen Eric snap into a violent rage against people whom he stated had dissed him, and no one was off limits, not even the police. He sold drugs, and though he never admitted to that, I know he did them as well. The worst part of it all was that of all the other girls he could have had, Eric set his eyes on my Sam. I always caught him staring at her, and no more than on one occasion attempted to sneak away with her. Thankfully, Sam wasn't interested in him, and never spoke to him. Regardless of what it was he pitched to her. Things went on like this for a while. As he grew more and more persistent, I decided that it was time that I separate the two before something had happened. It was the week just before Halloween, and our family was out shopping for goods for our parents' yearly celebration. My parents got a real kick out of throwing parties, and Halloween was just another excuse for them. Sam and I broke away from them, and we started browsing the prop aisle. Sam was partial to the props. She had a real knack for making realistic ones herself, and I always imagined seeing her work on the big screen. Sam walked over to a fake hatchet with a headband. She put it on and smiled at me. "Hey, that's pretty cool," I said to her.
"Yeah, it just doesn't look realistic. The paint's always wrong. I can make it better,"
she said in her petite voice, making sure no one was around to hear her first. Yeah, I bet you could. "Hey, Sam, there's something I need to talk to you about, okay?" I said as I peered into her big, doughy eyes.
"What's wrong, Jason?"
"Well, I just don't know if we should be hanging out at school anymore. I know you get uncomfortable when you're around everybody, especially Eric." As I said his name, I could see her eyes begin to water up, her already melancholy blue eyes mourning the words as I spoke them.
"Jason, please. I'm sorry. I'll try harder. Just please don't leave me behind."
"Sam, don't cry, please. I'm not leaving you behind. I just don't want you to get into trouble or worse, get hurt. You know how Eric's a psycho. I don't want him to go off on you and get caught up in the middle of that." My own voice began cracking in frustration.
"Jason, I'll do whatever you want. Please just don't leave me alone. I hate being so alone."
"Sam, you really should try and make your own friends, okay? You and I both know I'm not going anywhere in life, and I don't want to drag you down with me. You're my sister, and I love you, but I would never forgive myself if something happened to you." I tried my best to persuade her, but she opened her mouth to protest. I knew I needed to convince her. What I said next, I know I'll never be forgiven for. "Sam, goddammit, you don't fit in with us. You just don't get who we are, who I am. And you never will. Not with all your awkwardness, and especially dressed like that. I'm sick of all the hassle, so just go make your own goddamn friends." My forehead burned, heart pounding, rage erupted from inside me, and it spewed forth from my mouth. Before I knew it, Sam turned away from me and ran. Tears streamed from her face. I turned around and walked to the next aisle over, and as I walked, a heavy hand clamped my shoulder. "Hey, butthead!" The familiar sound ringed in my ear. I looked over to see Eric standing on my left. He had a weird and strange look in his eyes, and I assumed he was high. Hey, what's up, dude?" I said, greeting him. Eric opened up his coat. A bottle of whiskey protruded from the inner pocket. "Not much. Just shopping, you?" His eyes glossed over, darting back and forth. "Just about to split. You got any plans?" I said. "As a matter of fact, I do. Me, Sludge, and Cassie are going to drink over at the dam. You in?" he said. I accepted his offer. Not that I had any choice of the matter, and we took off. We had arrived sometime just after nightfall, standing on top of the dam, and talked about how pointless life was. For a time at least, until we got into the subject of religion. It was here when we discovered that Eric, in fact, was a devout Satanist. And halfway through the bottle of whiskey, feeling brave, we all laughed at Eric and taunted him. Eric didn't find our ridicule amusing, and instead grabbed our friend, who had been given the gracious name of Sludge, doing part of his slick, greasy hair and bad breath. He pulled him in close. "Did you know that if I really wanted to, I could take your heart out and eat it at any moment? Do you know how I got that ability? By reading from the sacred scriptures set forth by Lavain." His eyes wide, he let Sludge go and turned towards us, his hands clenched tight. So what, you worship the devil or something? Cassie stated. A hint of sarcasm laced her words. No, you dumb bitch. Fuck, don't you retards know anything? Well, then what the fuck is it that you worship? Cassie replied. Eric opened his mouth to speak, but was immediately cut off.
He worships himself.
The cold, familiar voice had caught everyone off guard. We all turned around to see who it was that approached us. The black void of night hid whomever it was. However, the familiarity of the voice sang to me.
Satanists don't worship deities like Christians would have you believe. In fact, Levan states that we are our own gods and therefore have no room for others.
The cold, calculated voice uttered. Oh, that's right. And who are you, baby doll? Let me get a look at you, mumbled Eric, his voice beginning to grow slurred and heavy. And from out of the shadows, a raven-haired girl appeared. She wore a form-fitting dress, her face covered in hues of blue and gray, her lips black as the night. But even with all the smoke and mirrors, I knew it was my Sam. I couldn't believe my eyes. What had she done? Who was this new woman who stood before me? A million questions popped in and out of my mind, and she walked over to me and smiled.
Do I fit in now, Jason?
She said. A hint of sorrow still lay in her eyes, and all at once my head began to swim. I could hear a faint, disturbed laughter coming from Eric, and before the blackness set in, I heard Eric say, "You kids are such lightweights." I passed out. I woke up, my head throbbing. My eyes searched the surroundings. I was in my room. Had this all been some horrible dream? I got up slowly and walked over to Sam's room. I didn't bother to knock and walked in. And Sam laid in her bed. Her face was clean and she wore her normal pajamas, pink with bunnies. I began to laugh. I must have been going crazy to think my sister, of all people, would have done such a thing. Sam woke up. Sleepily, she asked me what was so funny, and I told her about my dream. And I just continued to laugh. Sam looked confused, but I told her to forget about it and apologized to her for waking her up before I stepped out. I went back to my bed and fell back asleep. I woke up a few hours later to my sister clad in all black. "Sam, what are you—" She put her hand on my mouth. She had a worried look about her.
Jason, there's no time to explain. We need to go.
She pulled me up out from my bed.
Eric has Mom and Dad, and if we don't get there soon, he's gonna kill them, Jason.
I had absolutely no idea what was going on. Sam pulled me to the door, telling me to hurry up, that we didn't have much time. And as we ran down the hallway, I could see the words scrawled all along down the house. Messages had been left for us, mostly taunts and obscenities, but one phrase, however, appeared multiple times. "They're going to die, Jason. Stop me." My stomach twisted in knots. Sam took me to the backyard, near the wooded fields that lined our property. She explained to me that we had both been asleep far longer than she had expected. Sam told me about how she had been looking into Eric for a while and discovered that he was a Satanist. She told me that for a long time she had been looking into his beliefs and rituals, that she had known for a long time now but didn't think she needed to bring it up, that it wasn't until that night that she decided to try her hand at being part of the group, so she wouldn't be such a disappointment to me. My heart ached, guilt-ridden. I knew this was all my fault. Sam said that after everyone had passed out, her and Eric began to talk. He had told her that he was close to reaching true godhood, and that all he needed was her. Sam grew silent for a moment. She spoke up and said that after she had refused his advances, he had attempted to force himself onto her. But, to even her own surprise, she was able to fight him off. She had kneed him in the testicles and told him to stay away from her. He cursed at her and swore she would regret everything that she had done, that he would get even with her. She said this must have been his way of getting back at her. Sam and I continued to march through the woods until we came upon an old run-down shack. The words "Sugar Shack" spray-painted on the door. I could hear faint sounds of rustling coming from the inside of the shack. We began to sneak our way around. We reached the door, and I looked at Sam. Her face was emotionless. She had been so calm through it all. "Sam, I don't know what's on the other side of that door. But whatever happens, I need you to promise me that you'll get away, okay? This is my fault. I shouldn't have hung out with this creep. You guys shouldn't have to pay for my mistakes." Sam shook her head, and before she could utter a sound, I put my hand on her mouth. "Sam, just do this for me, okay? Get out safe, no matter what." She reluctantly nodded her head. I took in a deep breath and placed my hand on the rusting handle. I pushed it open. The door squeaked. A faint red glow was coming from the inside of the room. I slowly poked my head in and could see some robed figures standing at the rear of the shack. I took a step inside the building, my hands raised and ready. The figures did not move, so I moved inside, and as I walked closer, I attempted to speak. "Where are my parents, Eric?" The figure in the middle was pushed down by the two standing behind it. The figure on the left pointed down at it, and I made my way over and removed the hood. Eric's terrified face stared back at me. "Eric? What the fuck?" My confused statement was met with a sharp, "You better watch your mouth, son," my mother's voice echoed. "Mom?" The two standing figures removed their hoods, revealing to be my parents. I was in shock. "What's going on?" Sam placed her hand on my shoulder and her head against mine.
"Everything's alright, Jason. Calm down, okay?"
she said soothingly as Eric squirmed around. "Oh, honey, we did this for you. Your sister told us about this lowlife and how he was just a waste of space," my mom said in her sweet, motherly tone. But there was something strange about the way she spoke. It was almost robotic. "Yeah, son, you need to calm down now. Everything is fine," my father said in the same, almost mechanical way. I could feel Sam patting my head. I don't understand. Mom, Dad, what's going on?" I stammered. "Oh, honey, we did this for you. Your sister told us about this lowlife and how he was just a waste of space," she repeated. My father soon followed. "Yeah, son, you need to calm down now. Everything is fine." Sam began to hum softly and rub my back. "Sam, what's wrong with Mom and Dad? Why are they like that?" She turned my head to face her when we gazed into each other's eyes.
"Jason, you're everything to me. You know that, right? Well, Mom and Dad weren't too happy about what you've been doing with your time. In fact, they'd even considered sending you away. They said you were troubled and they couldn't handle it anymore. They signed you up for military training, Jason. I tried to reason with them, but they just wouldn't listen, so I had to make sure they didn't take you from me. It was a quick and sloppy job, but you kind of forced my hand. This time, though, I'll get it right."
She pointed to Eric. He began to shake violently, and she stepped onto his head. "Sam, what did you do? How? Again, she cut me off.
"I did this for us, Jason. Don't you see? I can't go on without you. I mean, the only reason I'm able to continue on sometimes is because you're there with me. You have to understand, Jason, I'm always in pain when we're apart. It's like nothing makes sense. But the moment you're with me, everything makes sense. The world isn't so dreary and the pain goes away. I couldn't live my life without you."
I couldn't grasp what I had just heard. Her words ran through my mind, but still, it made no sense.
"Don't worry, it doesn't need to make sense, Jason. You just need to trust me."
Her words haunted me. How did she know? I knelt there, motionless, My thoughts a mess.
Don't worry, Jason. I'll take care of everything, okay? You just sit there and watch me work.
I was paralyzed. What had she done to me? I couldn't lift a finger. Sam knelt down and lifted Eric up with the help of her puppets. That's all they were now, mindless puppets. And I watched Sam go to work. It's been a long time since that dreadful night, and every night I wake up in a sweaty panic. But my sister is always there to help me back to sleep. She loves me so much, and I can't help but love her. I really can't. My name is Jason, and I have a twin sister named Sam. Sam is a really sweet and caring person. She never got into trouble, and she always did her chores. Hey you, Ghostpaw here, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much for watching this video. I'd also like to give a great big shout out to Lady Spook, whom I had the privilege of working on tonight's video with. I have to say, it was an honor and a great privilege to be working with somebody as awesome as she is. If you haven't seen her videos before, I highly recommend that you do. You can find a link to her channel down in the description below. It's always a great feeling being able to work with other narrators. As always, if you liked tonight's story, don't forget to hit that like button, share with your friends, leave me a comment, and be sure to subscribe so you can catch more of my spooky tales. And remember, Ghostpaw is always hunting, and he might just be hunting you.